Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of A Real Point of View. I am gratefully, I'm going to say it that way, gratefully and graciously accompanied by my cohort in crime, Miss Karen D., the movie maven. How you doing, Karen?
Doing good. How are
Good.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just like anything else, we're still in that motif of the COVID uh, kind of you're still rearing its ugly head out there. But you know what? I'm optimistic and I feel good about the future. So I'm hoping that this will end soon and we'll all get back to normal. If not normal, get back to better things, you know?
Yep, I totally agree. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Prayer, lots of prayer.
Yeah.
Um, so tonight, I pose a different kind of scenario to my cohort here with regard to um, the actor Denzel Washington. We're going to focus on Denzel Washington, but we're going to do something a little different than we normally do. We look at people's achievements and things like that more in totality and a specific film that they may be in that we're highlighting for that moment in time. But today we're going to talk about Denzel Washington, the man or the movie. Is it that he's such a great actor that we're just enthralled with him and going to all his films? Is it the film itself that's the true hero? Is it the role that he's playing that's the true hero? Is it all Denzel, or is it the people behind the scenes, like the director or the screenwriter or the person who wrote the novel that was made into a screenplay, or who's developed these characters way before Denzel Washington even gets the script? So, with all the different things that Denzel Washington's been in the industry for decades, I personally have seen a myriad of films that he's made and been in, and even some that he's produced. And I must admit, I am a fan. But is my fandom, well, I don't know, is it false? Is it real? Is it that I'm throwing enthralled with the characters that are being played and the roles in the movies and the movies themselves? Or is it really Denzel Washington whose focus and whose efforts have brought me to a better understanding in the films that I'm watching? So what do you think, Karen? Is it Denzel or is it the film?
Well, you're probably going to hate this answer, but I think it's both.
I don't hate that answer. That's an
Oh,
intriguing answer. But so what brings you to that conclusion?
well, I went over his filmography, and I, to me, he's an excellent actor. I too am a fan. Okay, Liz. So let's just get that straight from Jump Street. I'm definitely a fan. He's one of my favorite actors. I've loved him ever since I saw him on St. Elsewhere. Um, and he's one of our finest actors. Really, he's one of the finest actors that Hollywood has produced. But when you look at his body of work, and he's got a relatively extensive body of work. We were talking about James Hong last week, how he has like 128 film credits. And if you've got like a huge career, maybe you might have 40 or 50, maybe 60. Denzel Washington has 61 acting credits to his name. He also has 5 credits as a director, 13 credits as a producer. So he's very much all in on Hollywood. He's very much just part of, he's got his hands touching every part of the filmmaking business. Mm-hmm. So and he's contributed as an actor. I mean, as an actor, you're asking somebody to give you a role. But he's not only done that, he's created roles for people. he's helped people launch their careers. The late Chadwick Boseman is one who he helped with tuition at a time when Chadwick Boseman, it's not like he was well known. He wasn't known at all. He wanted to go to school, and he wanted to go to a special graduate program. Denzel Washington paid for him, and then later on became a mentor. So I mean, he's awesome. I love him. When you look at his body of work, though, and I think this is natural, you're going to see ebbs and flows in terms of work. And it's not that I can't recall. I can recall maybe one instance where I thought he just was not very good. But generally speaking, he brings the work to the role, but some roles just fit him better than others.
Okay.
You know, they just do.
And I guess that's true about a lot of different actors in the industry, I'm sure. My wife and I were talking about a movie that starred Ray Liotta and we call him Sir Anthony Hopkins. And because of them being in the film, it drew us to the film because we were fans of both actors. However, we found that within the realms of this particular film, which name is, I'm not going to even tell you what it is because it's so unforgettable. It's so forgettable. The movie was horrible, and Star Power did nothing for it. And despite the abilities of both actors in previous works, for whatever reason, they forgot about them, obviously, in this film. And it was a nightmare. So obviously, just because of your acting prowess in previous works doesn't always mean that you're going to be in a good movie, but at the same time, be a good enough actor to pull it out. That's what I want to know about Denzel Washington today. Is he the actor that we think he is? Is he the actor that can pull it out? Is he the actor that has gotten such gems as roles that it doesn't take a great actor to pull it off? So those are kind of the questions that I'm curious about. Now, let's take something that we know Chadwick Boseman is famous for example, is playing roles of people that actually existed in our world, true to life people, and real stories or stories based on their real lives. He's been in a myriad of roles, which even surprised me. I didn't remember right off the bat how many roles he had played that were real people. Reuben Hurricane Carter, for example, Malcolm X, and Frank Lucas, the gangster. Here's a list of people. Herman Boone from Remember the Titans. And one name who—
George McKenna, Steve Biko.
Well, here's one that threw me for a loop because I didn't realize that this was based off of a true story. I just enjoyed the film. The Great Debaters. I didn't realize that Melvin Tolson was a real person. The person who was the mentor for all the debaters in the film those are real people and based off real people, but he was a real person. So is it— so here's the paradox. With that being said, these real people, these are people that existed in the world, people who know the history, people you can find out about their history. And of course, part of that history was captured in the films. Was it that these people were so prominent in the realms of the particular films that he was in that made it seem like he was a good actor, a great actor, or was it the people, these famous people? I mean, you know, we're talking about some people who are world famous, if nothing else. Was that Denzel? Or was that the essence of the people who truly lived those lives?
Well, see, to me, I mean, when we did our show about bios, one of the conclusions that we as a group draw is that bios are hard, and that Hollywood has not acquitted itself well when it comes to bios and bio pictures. They generally leave, there's less to them than meets the eye, generally speaking. And we also decided it was relatively unusual if you actually came up with a good bio picture. So from that standpoint, I would say that Denzel Washington definitely, I mean, he puts a great deal of work into his characterizations. Not only, and the work is not just something that he only does, you know, a little bit at a time. He goes all in. So I think he probably made those bio pictures better than they otherwise would have been, because he is very invested in the characters. For example, with Malcolm X, he inhabited that character. And when most actors would sort of do that, but then when, you know, when the camera stopped rolling, when the director called cut, you know, when that's a print and, you know, it's time for a lunch break or whatever, most other actors would go back to, you know, being themselves. Not him. He was Malcolm X on the set the entire time that they were filming. Daniel Day-Lewis is similar in that way. So, you know, he really is invested. And when you've got like the lead character, or you got the main person in a bio who's that, and the actor who's playing him is that invested, unless the script is just horrible, that's going to elevate the movie. So, I mean, Cry Freedom, I mean, it was a good script. It was a well done movie. It was the saddest story ever. So maybe that was something, if somebody else had played Stephen Biko, it still would have been a good film. But it's really memorable because Denzel Washington played Stephen Biko and made Stephen Biko a flesh and blood character, you know, somebody that you could relate to. So I think, you know, I think that applies to Reuben Hurricane Carter and who else did he do a bio
Herman
of?
Boone in Return of the Titans.
Right, Herman. Oh, definitely with Herman Boone. I mean, yeah, I remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies, and I believe Denzel Washington. I mean, to me, that's Denzel Washington is what Herman Boone looks like. Because to me, it's like that's the guy. And I know it's not, but the way in which Denzel Washington played that role, it just seems like that's got to be him. So yeah, there's a great deal of skill that Denzel Washington brings to these characters. Otherwise, you know, or especially to the real life characters. And so the better biopics are ones that he's been in.
Okay, let me be honest with you. I am, as I alluded to initially, I'm a big fan of Denzel Washington in film. I think what comes across from the films that I've seen is a true belief that he is the character. And so he exudes whatever that persona seems to be in helping the movies. Now, the mark of a truly good actor is taking a film that has very little merit and giving it life and bringing it to at least a better threshold than even the script seems to make it. What movies have you seen that this holds true? for Denzel Washington that he's actually been in a movie that wasn't necessarily a great movie, but because he was in it, because he played that particular character, did it elevate the film?
Oh God. Well, wow. And that to me, that question's a little bit harder than one might otherwise think. I I, I come back to like maybe like Mo Better Blues.
Okay.
I didn't think Mo Better Blues was, this must have been during Spike Lee's dark period. I mean, he was an okay, it was an okay movie. In my opinion, I remember going to the theater to see Mo Better Blues and coming away disappointed, because I went in there expecting a great movie, just something that really just blew my mind with the storytelling and the writing and the production values, and it just, and maybe upon reflection it's better than I remembered it, but I didn't remember it being that awesome a movie. I thought it was one of the disappointing entries from Spike Lee. But what was really good in that movie was Denzel Washington playing Bleak Gilliam. And, I mean, I believed him as a musician. And when you're playing trumpet, that's kind of hard to get across because trumpet is hard. I mean, you need that embouchure, you need, and I mean, there's one point where he gets in trouble and they, hurt him in the mouth, and you really feel, or I really felt it anyway. So to me, I mean, he definitely elevated an okay movie. He made it a little better than it otherwise would have been. It still wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't because of Denzel. Denzel did his job and then some. So that,
Okay.
that's one situation. There are, I mean, I want to like sort of pick on Philadelphia because
with Tom Hanks.
Yes, I never liked this movie. From the time that this movie was released, I thought it was a pig in a poke of a movie. Because there were just so many efforts to present this story without offending anybody. And to me, I mean, what I would have wanted to say to Jonathan Demme if he had only dialed 1-800-ASK-KAREN is there's no way to present the tragedy of AIDS without offending somebody. It's offensive. The creation of, I mean, the existence of the disease was offensive, but what was even more offensive was our country's response to that disease. People were offended because it was offensive. I don't know how you can attack this subject or say you're going to attack it and somehow leave everybody feeling warm and fuzzy. That doesn't work. It was that just wasn't going to happen.
Situation,
right. So what you have is just, like this heartfelt attempt to make a great movie that was very mediocre, in my opinion. I mean, the attempt to not offend anybody itself was offensive as far as I'm concerned. And you just, you had these like these paper characters. You had the Tom Hanks character was, perfect, except he was gay and he had AIDS. But other than that, he was perfect, And Antonio Banderas was the perfect boyfriend who never actually tried to be affectionate with Tom Hanks because that would have been offensive. So let's not go there. Well, we can have a dance, but nothing more. You know, so you guess you've got that. And then you've got Denzel Washington, who's knocking himself out to be the lawyer. So to me, he was like the person that resonated with me out of all those sort of cardboard cutout people. And they weren't cardboard cutouts because they weren't good actors. I mean, Tom Hanks and Antonio Banderas did a fine job with what they had. What they had wasn't much.
Right, right.
And I mean, I guess there's some sort of, I guess it's somewhat sort of self-serving to say that 30 years after that movie came out, but I felt that at the time. I mean, I'm saying that now because I remember saying this at the time, being disappointed when I went to see the movie and being skeptical before going to see the movie. It's like, how is he going to pull this off? And when I went to see the movie, it's like he got the financing for this movie because he didn't pull it off.
So for me, I think there's two films that I come up and think about rather quickly that I didn't like. One of the films was Virtuosity, Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm. Now, why didn't you like that movie?
In trying to make a movie kind of futuristic, to me it seemed a little safe. I didn't really like Russell Crowe's role in it, and I didn't like Denzel Washington. It was just a movie they were trying so hard to make it work that it just didn't, as you alluded to, the word you used, resonate with me. As being a well-acted film, I think the films in the midst of trying to be futuristic had a lot of restrictions. And it didn't seem to flow. It just, nothing about that film to me flowed. And so because I was a fan, I had a difficulty trying to watch that film. I never saw the whole film. And another one for me was The Mighty Quinn.
I was getting ready to say The Mighty Quinn.
Yeah, I tried to watch that film probably 3 times. And I never could get past the early part of the film when they're driving in the Jeep in Paradise. And that was pretty much the best part of the film. Now, do I attribute that to Denzel Washington? Or do I attribute that to just a really bad film and just one of those things that he made a mistake in trying to be in it? I think that was just probably not a good choice of film. And the movie didn't make very much sense really throughout the whole film.
Robert Townsend was good in it.
Okay. But the film just didn't hit me well. So that wasn't a great movie for me, as far as I'm concerned, for Denzel Washington to be in. Now, obviously, as you stated before, he's got quite an extensive bit of work that he's been involved in film. I think probably a film that I thought he actually did a good acting job in, but the film was just okay, was a Spike Lee joint, which was He Got Game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a decent movie. I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. It was a decent movie, but I really enjoyed Denzel Washington's character in it. The essence of this father trying to raise this star athlete and trying to give him the things that he needed when he himself didn't have those things. It was a little inspiring, actually, to watch him, because I would think that would be how this particular character would have reacted to all the things that were going on, not just for his son, but the things that were going on that were somewhat against him. And that is what they wanted to bring out. And I think he did a good job in bringing that out and still trying to have enough courage and strength and to not let all those things, all that adversity, keep him from still trying to make sure his son understood the importance of his life going forward, and the people that support you, no matter what that is, no matter whether that's rich or poor, sickness, health, whatever it is, these people are supporting you, not just for themselves, not just for you, but just to be that support, be there for you, know that you have us, when he was trying to ignore that a little bit. So I think he did a good job in that film, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think there's a lot of films where it's Denzel. Training Day. That one was hard for me because, as you and I were talking about before this, the very different role for Denzel Washington in retrospect to the type of films where he was the positive role model, or the person who has been subjected to so much but was busting through those things, like in Hurricane Carter. Here we have a total role reversal. He is a narcissistic, evil, self-absorbed. Okay, we can just keep going on and on and
Well,
on.
don't forget corrupt.
Yeah, we can go on and on, about this particular guy. And yet, as far as he was concerned, he was the dude. He was it. He was everything. It takes a lot to go from a lot of soul searching and studying and researching to go from being this one type of character to being the total opposite. And I think if it was me as an actor, I would look at that as being the major challenge, not just a challenge in general, but I am challenging myself to be so different than what I've been. That would be fun. And so I'm thinking to myself, he probably thought that was fun. And who knew he was going to get an Academy Award for it?
Well, it probably was fun, but that is not my favorite role with Denzel Washington. And
Definitely not a favorite role.
that came out in 2001.
Just
I went to see Training Day in the movies because I was just so excited. And at the time, I remember thinking, wow, this is awesome. And I loved Denzel Washington's performance. I was so happy when he got the Academy Award. But 19 years later, going on 20 years later, I'm like, I don't think this film holds up. I don't think Denzel Washington's performance holds up over time. Like with the luxury of hindsight, if I was Queen, he wouldn't have gotten the award for Training Day. He would have gotten the award 9 years earlier for Malcolm X, where he was robbed. He was robbed, he was robbed, he was robbed. That's what he deserved the award for. And so to me, giving him the award for Training Day, I mean, and there were other things. I mean, he could have gotten the award for The Hurricane. He could have gotten the award for Remember the Titans. So there were he could have gotten the award for Devil in a Blue Dress. But he got it for Training Day. And I think this was just the Academy belatedly and not acknowledging that he should have had one of these already. So let me just, here, there you go. You get one now. It's we don't want to forget you, so here you go. So yeah, I mean, I liked it at the time, but 19 years later, I'm like, yeah. I mean, to me, it's like it's kind of fun to see him as this character, but it's sort of like having like dessert, and it's like somebody says, listen, we're gonna give you dessert because you're just so awesome. And you get the dessert and you eat it for a while, but then after a while, it's like you want something else. You want some meat or maybe a potato or something, but there aren't any because everything is sweet. To me, that's what Training Day was like, this was all sizzle, not enough steak for me.
And I agree. I didn't think it was that great a movie. And it was difficult to watch it because it wasn't that great a movie, not because of him so much. But, I think I agree with you as far as the Academy is concerned. I thought it was, for lack of a better way of saying it, them trying to give him something because they didn't give it to him when he truly deserved it. But at the same time, not taking that much away, he's still a good actor. So if we really look at it, I think Denzel Washington is a superb actor. And he's made a lot of movies better that weren't all that great. Like John Q, not the best movie. But he did okay in it. And now a movie that was really not that great of a film, but him being in it was definitely a draw for fans. But it wasn't a great movie, which was Out of Time with Cheryl Lee Ralph.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the best movie.
No, kind of a forgettable movie.
Yeah, but he wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything, it wasn't much for the movie. It doesn't matter what your character was, it wasn't much for the movie. It was so cliche and things you knew what was gonna happen next, and that sucks when you're watching a movie. You want some suspense. And it just didn't do anything other than employ some people and give them some money.
Well, I can tell you one movie where he definitely did not add, he didn't bring much to the table. And to me, this was the worst performance, his worst performance on film. And that is, what is it? Well, it was Much Ado About Nothing.
I was going to ask you about the old Shakespeare, because I was thinking when I only saw a part of it. I did not see the whole film. I thought there wasn't much to the movie. There wasn't much to his part in it. And yeah, I would agree. That's probably, ironically, the one where Shakespeare, you're thinking yes. And we watched that and it was no. And not just for him. A lot of other people in that movie too.
Well, I mean, it had an all-star cast of Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson. Keanu Reeves was also in it playing Don John. Kate Beckinsale played Hero. Imelda Staunton, she's just practically an institution as far as British actors are concerned. Richard Briers, Jimmy Yule, Brian Blessed, who's awesome, played Antonio. But Denzel Washington as Don Pedro was completely and utterly forgettable. And I'm like, has this guy not done enough Shakespeare? To me, it's like he was walking through that role in a way that I would expect to if I'd had no classical training at all. And that's not true for him, because he did Coriolanus on stage when he was breaking into theater. So it's not like he hasn't had the opportunity to work with Shakespearean material, but that performance was the worst I've ever seen from him, in my opinion. And it's not that it was so bad, it's just that what was so bad about it wasn't that he, was horrible. It's just that he was only okay, and he should have been terrific. And he didn't do anything with that role that any, acting student wouldn't think to do if given that role. Like he, just played it straight. He read the lines. He didn't stumble over the words, and the character was just, man.
Yeah, that's about it. So we've talked about films in this short rant here that we didn't like that he was in. So Now, is this proving more toward the point of it's the film, not the actor, or is the actor not the film? I don't know. But
Well, to me, it's a mixed bag.
it is. But here's my thing. I found a film that was a remake. Um, Scott Glenn played the character in the original film. And this is a film where the narrator is dead, but narrating the film and telling us what's going on, what's happening. So the movie is Man on Fire, which was originally done by Scott Glenn years prior. But I thought Denzel Washington took this movie, which is just an okay movie in itself, both films. But I think he elevated the character and gave us a little bit more of an emotional character, a little bit more substance. And that's what an actor should do, especially in a situation where it's a film that's a remake. And you know, Karen, I'm not a real big fan of remakes because I'm thinking if you're going to do something like that, spend the money, spend the time and the effort, you also want to make it better. I mean, isn't that the point? And yet, many films fall to the wayside. Not only are they not better, they're worse in many cases. I'm not saying that's every film that is in that uh, essence, but it can be and has been a lot of films. But Man on Fire was actually a decent film with Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning, and it was a better film than the original. So it did its due diligence in being better, but it still wasn't a great movie. But I do believe that Denzel Washington did enhance the character and give us a little bit more content as a character than the original movie did. So, yeah, that's a testament to his ability as an actor to elevate a film. That is definitely that film. And I'll be honest with you, Remember the Titans, I've seen it like 4 times.
Me too.
And I must admit, he is commanding of that role. And I truly believed in him. I truly believed in what he believed in. I truly believe that he knew the formula to get these young men to work together and be what's called a true team. I wish we could have more coaches like that everywhere, and including in the corporate realms.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so that was an excellent film. I admit that most of the films I've seen of his, I really enjoy. Even the ones that are not necessarily cerebral films, but some like are action-packed films, like the buddy movie with him and Mark Wahlberg in Two Guns. That was just a buddy movie. It wasn't supposed to be the great theatrical. This is going to be an Oscar. This was just a fun movie that was something that was kind of almost melodramatic, to be honest with you. But just a fun movie to do. And then my favorite movie like that for Denzel Washington is The Equalizer, which was based off of a TV series years ago, I think in the 80s. And the film series now of multiple Equalizer films, I actually like his character in there and the realms that he's coming from as a guy who works kind of like a store like Walmart, and he says these cliched things that if you paid attention, you know he was a spy, but you're not paying attention as the common person. He just thinks he's this really knowledgeable guy who works in the tools and moving devices part of Walmart. But and you know, who knew he was an assassin, right?
Right.
but it was fun to watch. I wasn't looking for an Academy Award. I was looking for him to be interesting, an interesting
Right.
character, and he
And that's
was.
how I felt when I saw The Equalizer too, because I was never a fan of the TV series, never Edward Woodward starred in it. And it was kind of boring. I mean, like the actor who played the title character never resonated with me. I mean, I didn't see any reason why I should watch him. But when Denzel Washington took on that character, they made it a lot more fun, like you said. It was more interesting. The situations were more over the top, and nearly impossible for any human being to get out of. But when you have the best writers on the planet, they can write you out of any situation, and you'll be just fine. And that's what happened here. It's like, this the Equalizer, Robert McCall, had the best writers on the planet, so that's why he was able to get out of all these situations. Thank you, writers.
I mean, think about it. Didn't James Bond have all this ability to get out? Let's be honest. If anything, he might have got out of 1/16 of all those things that happened.
Right.
He'd have just been brutalized, blown up, shot, stabbed, whatever. But it's a cool thing when you say, okay, I can do this in how many seconds? It's like you've been training all this meticulous training that you know that you're going to be able to throw this piece of paper, turn it in from an origami into a spear, and taking a pebble that's on the ground and making it into a shot put, and on and on and on. You know,
Right.
It's like, well, how did you get him? It was a paper cut. That paper cut slit his throat. I mean, come on, But somehow the actor's portrayal of that character made us believe that could happen.
Right.
Yeah, there's no Academy Award nomination. There's no Golden Globe, but I had a lot of fun watching it.
I had a lot of fun watching. I was pleasantly surprised because that was one movie that I didn't rush to the theater to see, because I'm like, Equalizer, okay. But when I did see it, it was like, it was fun to watch. I was surprised, and I really wanted to know more about Robert McCall, the Equalizer character, and how did he get into the situation? Why is he equalizing everything in its mother? Does he ever take a day off? Does he ever have a vacation? There's things like that. Is he single? Is he married? Blah blah blah.
Right.
We knew he was. We knew he was single because he lived in like a rat hole of an apartment. But he had millions of dollars in the bank. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about it. We were able to get a glimpse of his real life outside of work. And I don't even think he owned a television. I mean, he was just that guy.
He lived this monastic existence.
Yeah, definitely. And yet, even that was fun to watch, to be honest, because it made you think, well, wow, how did he come with all these antidotes, and where does all this come from? And then you realize you guys have been trained for decades on how to and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you know how to use a shearing knife for bushes and use it as a pick to open a locked door when it's too big? So, but right. That kind of stuff, right? So, and my last movie that I'm going to mention is also a remake, and it's been a remake of multiple remakes. And I believe my first knowledge of this particular film was a Japanese film called The Seven Samurai, which has been westernized into The Magnificent Seven, and very famously done by Yul Brynner, and now redone by Denzel Washington. And I must admit, the characters in the film, I actually got and grew to like them. I didn't know how this film was going to go. had high hopes for it. At the same time, I knew what they were up against with regard to comparisons to the previous um, Magnificent Sevens and the original Japanese version of the Seven Samurai. You know, um, and those were good movies. Was this going to be as good or better? It was not better, but it wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the characters, Denzel Washington's character was interesting, but not the best role for him, but it was decent. And each person's persona in the film was decent. And so it made the film fun. And I think even the original Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner was supposed to be fun, not necessarily the critics meow, best film on the earth. It was just for fun. You could tell by just the way it was, it facilitated as the movie went on. That was just really just a fun movie, and some people out there trying to do a good deed. It was just a good deed movie. And so
Mm-hmm.
it continued to be that. I think um, all of them were like that. Even the Seven Samurai was like that. So um, it was good, not necessarily better, but it was good. And it was interesting. And that's
I really
a
enjoyed
lot of
it.
things anymore. Don't we just want to be entertained more so than just be, all the time uh, being, what's the word, overwhelmed or you know, I think sometimes it's just a matter of pleasantry and
Mm.
interesting things that make us feel better too. I mean, sure, we want that critically acclaimed film at some point here and there, and we're going to get it, and we tend to get it. But at the same time, why not those films that make us feel um, interested, or make us feel sad, or make us feel happy, or zealous, or joyful? All those films matter too. And Denzel Washington's been in he's been in a lot of those films too. Antoine Fisher was a feel-good movie.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and his ability to um, also be behind the scenes for that film as well as being in the movie um, elevated that movie. That was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a feel-good movie. It was a movie that said, despite the problems that are going on in your life and in the world, there's still a place for you. There's still a place for you to excel and be the better you and be happy with yourself, um, and not worry about so much about other things. And so that was a good movie to me. So do we really answer the question? Not really. There's no true answer in the sense of, is it really him or the movie? I think, as you said, Karen, I think it's both also. I agree. It's both.
Hey, yeah, well, here's another example. Roman J. Israel Esquire. He was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in this movie in which he played this sort of down on his luck lawyer, defense lawyer. And he looked way different. I mean, he was, I thought I thought I got caught up in the middle of an Eddie Murphy, the Nutty Professor, but, with not quite as much weight on moment, because that's how they had him looking. So just kind of wild. He was looking wild there on purpose. And and so he plays this character who's just willing to go to great lengths help to help his clients who are generally being screwed over by the man. But the movie itself got pretty mediocre reviews.
Right.
But in spite of that, critics did seem to agree almost down to the last one that his performance was really quite exceptional in that movie. It couldn't make a mediocre movie better, but Denzel Washington more than did his job, and he brought this character to life. So, so you have that. But the other thing that I guess I want to mention before we get out of here is that generally, I mean, his body of work is just so amazing. And the excellence starts very early on. A Soldier Story in 1984.
Wow, yeah. That was awesome.
One of my all-time favorite movies, with the late, great Howard Rollins playing a military lawyer and Denzel Washington playing a private. The late, great Adolph Menjou was
Sergeant.
not Adolph Menjou, Adolph Caesar played the staff sergeant brilliantly.
He did.
And I think, did he get the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor?
I don't know. I thought he was nominated, but I don't know if he got it.
I know he was not. I thought he actually got it, but I would have to check. But so this was like a relatively small role, except it's quite pivotal. I won't say why, but quite pivotal. But the way in which he, again, you look at the way in which he sort of methodically approaches these roles, and I think you can see that it's like he gave a lot of thought to what did this character want, why would this character do some things that he did or not do some other things that other characters were doing, what was driving this particular person, and he did a really good job. But that was like in 1984.
Right. Yeah, he totally surprised me. I think he surprised a lot of people.
And then, I mean, not too much longer after that, he was in Glory, where he was nominated for a best supporting actor.
He won.
And I think he won, didn't he?
He definitely won.
Yes. 1989, he played Private Trip.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best acting jobs I've ever seen.
Right. But here's another great acting job, Flight.
And that's more recent.
From 2012, where he plays Whip Whitaker, an alcoholic pilot who pulls off an amazing maneuver to save a plane that's about to go down. And then when the FAA starts investigating, they decide to look at him because they're thinking, you didn't save the plane. You almost created a huge disaster because you're an alcoholic, drunk idiot person. And so he goes from being a hero to zero, literally. And he's got his claws way back to, if not hero, then at least back to, I'm a normal person who doesn't just go around killing people.
Right.
I think, I can't remember if he got Academy Award for that. But I mean, I know he didn't get the Academy Award, but I can't remember if he got a nomination for that. But he certainly could have been nominated. He just did such a great job, and you just couldn't take your eyes off of him.
And I think that's the key. When Denzel Washington is in a movie, he doesn't just give you acting, he gives you presence. Mm-hmm. He envelops and engulfs the role so much that it's hard not to notice him, even the small parts. I like Gene Hackman, but I loved Denzel Washington in Crimson Tide.
Oh, I was just getting ready to bring up Crimson Tide, another one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, it's an awesome film.
It's an awesome film, but watching them go at it.
Oh, it was great.
It's like a battle of the Titans, and you're just like, wow, where's the popcorn?
I know.
It was just so well done. Love that movie, and another movie where he to me, Easy Rawlins will go down in history as one of the better film detectives because of how Denzel Washington imbued that character when he took him on. He did a fabulous job as Easy
Yeah.
Rawlins. I can't imagine anybody else being Easy Rawlins. I wish that there had been other movies made in the 90s and early 2000s, because Walter Mosley, the person who wrote Devil in a Blue Dress and created the Walter Mosley character, I mean, not the Walter Mosley character, the Easy Rawlins character, just, he's written numerous books with the character Easy Rawlins. There was substantial source material to draw on. There could have been other films easily. And I don't know if that didn't happen because Denzel Washington wasn't available, or because they couldn't get other people on board, or not enough investors, or they just decided, or maybe they decided Devil in a Blue Dress didn't make enough money. I don't know what went on. But I think it's I'm grateful that we have the one movie treatment of a Walter Mosley book, but he's such a fine author. There should be like 5, 6, 7 film treatments at a minimum of his books, and there aren't.
No,
But
I'll be honest with
he
you.
was so good in that.
He was very good in it. But I thought someone who stole the show just a little bit was his cousin, his country cousin, played by Don Cheadle.
Right. Yeah, Don Cheadle was awesome in that movie.
He was awesome in that movie. And I didn't expect that at all. Mm-hmm. So that made that movie even that much more fun. And that was a fun movie to watch. It was just fun.
The other thing that you don't see Denzel Washington in, because he's a serious actor who brings gravitas to all of his roles, is where's this man in terms of romantic comedies? Okay, Much Ado About Nothing is a comedy, Shakespearean comedy, and I don't need to see that again. But what about just, the typical rom-coms? The only one where I think he did a fine job and remains one of my favorite movies almost 30 years later is Mississippi Masala, where he plays Demetrius Williams, a guy who he's doing, I think he owns like a carpet cleaning service or something. And he runs into a group of Indian immigrants who run this hotel, and they hire him to clean some of the rooms or something like that. And he meets the daughter, and they end up getting involved. And it's Mira Nair wrote the movie. She's an incredible writer, but this was like a very sweet movie. It was just lovely. And it sort of attacked the racism that exists between African Americans and Indian Americans, but within the context of this very gentle sort of romantic movie. And it was just, I love this movie. And he was awesome in it. And he wasn't the hero or, the president or the major or or the equalizer. He was just some guy.
Just some guy. Yeah.
He was just
Sometimes you gotta just be some guy.
Sometimes you just have to be some guy.
Like in Fences.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some poor guy trying to live his life and trying to do the right thing and not always doing the right thing, and very true life existence situation.
And the other thing I'll mention too is that there's some of these projects where he was not only acting, he was the director.
Right. Like Fences.
And he did really well. I mean, yes, like Fences, but also The Great Debaters.
Yes.
And Antoine Fisher.
Yep.
And I'm very surprised at the quality of these movies, given that he not only has the lead character, he's also directing. These are, I mean, in his body of work, these are among the better movies.
They are. They are.
And he's doing double duty as director and as lead actor.
So I guess if we really want to surmise the essence of this Denzel Washington, the actor or the movie, I guess we come up with we're still fans. And I don't think that's going to change much. And that's because of him. He's made us a little bit more present in the films that he's in. He's made us, he shared the experience of these characters with us. And we looked at them as being viable, not just viable characters, but viable, believable experiences, people that we can even relate to, people we can understand, whether we can relate to them or not, at least understand what they're going through. And characters who are inspiring, like the great debaters, like Mr. Melvin there, Mr. Tolson. So yeah, I think Denzel Washington is a superb actor. And nothing that I've seen is changing that in my viewpoint. And it sounds like the same for you, Karen.
Definitely. And, you know, when you look at what is coming down the pike for Denzel, I mean, Denzel Washington's in his mid-60s. So, but he's got stuff in the pipeline. He's the producer of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which will sadly be Chadwick Boseman's last film. And I'm not sure when it's going to be released because of the pandemic. But he's the producer of that. He's got Macbeth in the works. I'm a little concerned, as you know, we're back to the Bard, and I don't think he acquits himself that well, but you know, let's give him another chance.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking that's years ago. Maybe he's gotten better as an actor. I don't know. Might be a decent actor after all.
I don't think he and Shakespeare need to be in the same.
Well,
I don't think they need to be on speaking terms. I think he's gotten worse over the years, not better, with regard to Shakespeare.
I guess it remains to be seen now. So,
right. And then he's got something else called Leave the World Behind.
And something called
The Little Things.
Yeah, I just echo what you just said about The Little Things. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a little long in the tooth here. We appreciate you stopping by and listening to us talk about actually one of our favorite actors and trying to be unbiased with our approach to the topic of is it the actor or is it the film? And maybe we'll do another is it the actor, is it the film down the road for somebody else who has a decent body of work. But until that time, I want to thank you for hanging out with us here on A Real Point of View. Check out our YouTube channel. Check out our archives on Blog Talk Radio, as well as Google Podcasts. And leave comments. Let us know if you like what you've heard. Let us know if you have ideas that we can research for you. And just any comments that positive to us trying to be more of service to you. So thanks again for joining us and have a blessed day. And any parting words, Karen, before we get out of here?
He got game?
He got game. Yeah. And even Denzel Washington took a few jump shots and they actually went in. Who knew? All right.
Who knew?
Well, thanks again, everybody. Have a blessed day and a blessed week. And we'll see you at the movie someday soon, hopefully. And maybe we can share some popcorn.
Yeah, maybe. Night, everybody.
Then, have a good night, everybody. Peace.
Peace.